Andrew, on today's show, we're talking about breaking bad news, how to share bad news with either the media or your employees. And we're joined today with Jeff Hahn, the founder and principal of Apron Food and Beverage Communications. Andrew, are you excited about this?
So pumped up.
Yeah. They killed the music.
Get ready to enter the Thrive Time Show.
We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom, now we hit.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top. Teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colin Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm a dive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the CNC up on your radio. And now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom and we'll
Yes, and yes, Thrive Nation. It's a very special occasion because it is always profound, Andrew, whenever I am above the
ground.
Above the ground. And on today's show, we're interviewing a man who has built a very impressive thing, an entrepreneur, a business guy, a guy whose his last name is Hahn. His first name is Jeff. Jeff Hahn, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Great to be here, Clay. I'm doing really well. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone that's listening is healthy and well in this unusual time, too.
Well, I can tell you this, Jeff. Andrew and I, in preparation for today's show, we've been on a hunger strike. We hear you're in the food industry, so we've been we're not sure what we're striking against. We just wanted to. We're hunger striking right now, and we're getting very unhealthy. So, what kind of goods and services can you sell us at Apron Food and Beverage Communications?
Oh, well, when we think about promoting our clients, we always start with beef.
Beef.
And Texas beef is one of our biggest clients that we promote. And beef in general as a terrific nutritional protein for the center of everyone's plate. So I've got a beef recipe in mind for you guys.
If I wanted to order, if our listeners want to buy beef direct from you, can they do that? Or where do you fit into the supply chain? You hear so much in the news now about the supply chain for beef, the supply chain for vegetables. Where does your company, Apron Food and Beverage Communications, fit into the supply chain?
Yeah, we typically operate in two modes for commodity brands like beef, or even retail brands like Whataburger. The Whataburger restaurants across the country, there's 820 of them in quick-serve restaurants. But we typically operate in the promotions side of the business or the protection side of the business. And so we're all about raising reputation on a good thing, and if you have a bad thing happens, we do a lot of protective work from a crisis communication standpoint.
Let's say that I am very, very curious as to how you started, because I am. But a lot of our listeners, they go, "You've got Jeff Hahn on the show. He's kind of a big deal." And then it becomes almost impossible to think that they can get to where you are. Can you tell us, where did you grow up? What was your life like, growing up?
They can get to where I am for sure, because I started out, I grew up on a farm in northeast Iowa. I was a farm boy.
Wow. And did you...
and in the mid-1970s, our farm got destroyed by a tornado. So I really grew up working on a lot of other people's farms around the region where I was. And then when I was 19, I went to the military. I spent 4 years in the Air Force, and from there launched my career. But no, not an extraordinary youth. Certainly one where I grew up learning how to shovel cow manure on a lot of days.
So when did you figure out what you wanted to do professionally after serving? And I appreciate you doing that. After you got back from serving, our country, when did you decide what you wanted to do?
Well, I was always fascinated with politics and the relationship component of that world. I really came into the conversation about my career once I graduated with a degree in political science. And then I started an internship at Motorola. Motorola back then was an enormous company, about 120,000 people. So the government relations function was pretty significant. That's where I really was exposed to the world of all the quote unquote relations, media relations, external relations, financial relations, all of these different expertise and functions in the communications field. And it was there that I said, okay, I know now there's a lifetime of work for me to do in this public relations business.
I feel like a lot of our listeners out there, they're kind of in that phase where they're wanting to gain that real big traction. A lot of our listeners are doing really well with their careers, but some are wanting to gain that big traction. When did you feel like you were first starting to get some traction and momentum?
I think it was probably in about the 5th year of my career where I sat down and said, I think I know what I'm doing here. And what I did, which sticks with me today, and I talk to young people about it quite often, is I sat down and said, you know, there is a set of boxes to be checked in this career field. And by the time I'm done here, I want to have all these boxes checked. I want to become the ultimate generalist. And so just going down through that process of thinking, what is the expertise I need at each stage of my career? What do I want to learn at a moment in time and make sure that I have mastered, has really equipped me to think through a 25, now 30-year career path that has allowed me to continuously check boxes. And I've always kept that master list of things that I want to know, understand, that I'm curious about, and things that I want to be an expert at. So that's been the tool that I've used to guide my entire career.
I would love to get your take on this, and if you don't want to go there, you could just hit the punt button, and I'll have the boo button ready to go. The boo button is ready to go, so you can boo me if you need to. You can boo me. You hear a lot in the media right now about the supply chain. People are sincerely worried that we're going to run out of food. Are you worried about this at all? Can you comment on the food supply chain? What's your take on there? We have a lot of listeners out there who have heard news reports, a lot of overhype, maybe underhype. What's your take on the health of the U.S. supply chain for food?
Well, it's fair to say that it is stressed. Now, let me explain why that is. The supply chain is pretty tight. On any given normal day, it can meet demand without any trouble. The challenge that the supply chain, from everything from beef to toilet paper, has experienced is this surge buying. And the supply chain from production all the way to grocery store isn't equipped to manage these massive surges of buying that take place when people are in scarcity or hoarding mentality. And that's been true. It's not just a new phenomena. It's been true for hundreds and hundreds of years. When we feel like we're not going to have something, we tend to rush out, get more of it, stock it up, store it. And that phenomena cascades now in this day of news that gets to us much, much faster. So the supply chain is actually pretty strong.
Yeah.
It's just built to be lean.
That makes sense.
We are all able to manage our own scarcity mentality better and not get into panic hoard buying, the supply chain can respond very well.
Now, you have decided to sit down and to write a book. And for the listeners out there that don't know what it's like to write a book, it's a lot like sitting down, you're excited. You got a new idea. Here comes the book. You're going to do it. And then the fun wears off because you realize, wait a minute, I'm editing this book for the 47th time. You start to realize, wait a minute, there's a deadline coming. You start to realize I got to do more research, more editing, more. And then right at the time you begin to hate the book, then you start to like it again, and then it comes out. It really is like giving birth to a knowledge bomb. You decided to write this new book, Breaking Bad News, 10 Essential Crisis Communication Tools. What inspired you to write this book?
You know, one of the boxes that I checked in my career, and I've always been fascinated by, is crisis communication. The crisis communication function, though, always felt like maybe it's a little Harry Potterish, but a dark art. Why are those people, how can they do that under such pressure? It was always fascinating to me and got me to thinking about the ways to process information and to do it effectively under pressure and in time constraint. Well, it turned out over the course of my 30 years, I've been in hundreds of crisis situations with clients. I finally started to figure out, there's a pattern here. I use these types of tools to not only guide clients through conversations, but to help them make decisions. And once I began to think through that, and also I have I'm kind of a nerd or geek when it comes to drawing diagrams. I put those two things together and said, the patterns that I experience in my consulting work are actually diagrammable. I can use models to coach people through these. That conversion of two thoughts really was the essence of what formed the notion. Hey, you know what? I could put these models together into a supermodel and teach people that this isn't a dark art, that it's actually a functional set of tools, almost like a DIY book for crisis communication that anybody can learn.
I feel like, a lot of our listeners are busy people who, if they're going to read a book, they want to know, what's something practical I can get out of this book? Jeff, there's so many options out there for books and podcasts and media. We really do live in the information age. And we wouldn't have you on the show if we didn't think that you know what you were talking about. But on a practical level, for a lot of the business owners out there, why should everybody pick up a copy of your book? Or maybe what practical things can the readers expect to find in your new book, Breaking Bad News?
Well, I guess there's two that I would say specifically. First of all, in terms of crisis communications, brands are pretty bad at it. They're actually awful at doing crisis work. And you see examples of it all the time. Well, one reason to buy the book is if you don't have time to really understand the nuances and the interior work of crisis communication, pick up the book because it gives you a step-by-step, in fact, a 5-step process for managing through just about any kind of crisis. That's a good reason to pick it up. The second reason is,
I agree. I want to ask you this real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you. With the crisis thing, what would be a practical crisis that maybe that you think a business owner would be going through? You said the word crisis. I agree with what you're talking about, but what would be a crisis that maybe a small business owner could relate to?
Well, in the food business, for sure, it's recalls. I have a food recall. That's one that we coach clients through quite a lot.
Got it.
But you can have all kinds of brand reputation crises. I think for a general, even a small business owner, they find themselves exposed to social media. And it just so happens they say the wrong thing in the wrong way. And all of a sudden they're exposed to this torrent of criticism online through a social media channel. Well, you've just created a crisis. How do you pull yourself out of that? And the book is really a good resource for you to, okay, I'm going to turn to page 72 and start to work my way down through this. And it's a bit of a playbook in that respect. So you can find yourself in a crisis around things that you say that damage your reputation, or things that your employees say or do. I've been in many a war room with clients where it's their own employee population that has done something terribly wrong that's resulted in something pretty tragic happening, even fatalities.
I'm going to allow you to coach me through this, okay? I didn't have any fatalities recently with my employees, but I have had, I do have employees, and recently I was working with a client, and his employees during the lockdown were saying untrue things about him online. These are people that were not working for weeks. They're sitting at home, and they just decided to write things. And I know this particular client, and I know that the things his staff was saying about him were not true. And one by one, every day, they just go on Google and leave reviews. Ex-employees, current employees, talking about how the work conditions aren't fair, they're not safe. They're not safe, they're not fair. Back and forth, they said. And then now they're all back to work. But how can a small business owner, how should they respond to something like that?
Yeah, one of the great ways to think about that is through a tool that I call the method of delivery. You have a 12 different options in how you're going to respond. And it could be that you say, you know what, I'm not going to respond. It's not worth talking about, because as you look at those posts, you realize that only about 12 people see them. Okay, maybe I don't want to burn any energy on that because the audience really isn't there.
Mm.
However, if you work down through the tool set, you could say, no, I am going to respond because the reputation of my business is being challenged. So you pick a tool that allows you to correct misinformation. And you do that just by posting your own content. Here's what these people say. Here's the truth. Here's what they say. Here's the truth. And you just keep very persistently pushing back.
Okay, so you're saying that each a crisis should be responded to differently. Is that what your firm does? You sit down with a client and you help them figure out the best strategy?
Absolutely. And there's a variety of tools that we stack together to give them the options. And that's really one of the key things about my consulting is I try to give clients options that they can choose rather than me saying, well, here's what you ought to do. Because only a owner knows his or her business really intimately. They know what's best. What they need is just some guidance through the options that they have to choose from. And that's why I think Breaking Bad News is a real asset. It gives you options.
The term reputation management. I see a lot of people say, reputation management, that doesn't matter. Well, yeah, we've worked with a lot of dentists and doctors and lawyers, and it turns out that every single time, if you're not intentional about managing your reputation management, your online reputation intentionally, much like a garden, if not tended to, the weeds begin to grow and all you find is negative stuff. How important is it for business owners out there to Google themselves?
Oh, I think very important. And you absolutely hit it perfectly. A reputation is built, it has to be managed. It's like a house or a career. And when it's ignored, reputation is open to attack. It's open to being damaged. And you know what? It's kind of hard to restore. It takes a lot of investment and energy. Sometimes it might not be fair that you're getting attacked, but that's the way the world works these days. And so you have to be willing to say, my reputation's worth investing in, it's worth protecting when the time comes to stand up and make sure that you take the steps necessary to respond to commentary that may harm or damage your reputation.
Now, I am not trying to put words in your mouth, but I am going to bring this up. In your new book, you talk about, in your new book, Breaking Bad News, 10 Essential Crisis Communication Tools, you talk about 6 types of questions that reporters tend to ask during media interviews. And I don't profess to be an expert in your field, but I have found that a lot of times reporters will ask questions that are non-questions. So, as an example, there was a Saturday Night Live skit back in the day, starring the actor from Roseanne Goodman. John Goodman was his name, and he was a fictitious player. He was supposed to be a fictitious referee, and rather than after the game where the reporters typically ask players and coaches questions, in this fictitious show, the skit, they would ask referee Pittman questions. And so people would put their hands up and say, Referee Pittman, I got a question for you. And he goes, yeah, sure, what's your question? They'd say, sir, in the area where most people would have a soul, it's obvious you don't have a soul. What do you keep there? You know, that kind of stuff. Or, Referee Pittman, what's it like to call a game when you are, in fact, completely blind? I mean, is it total blindness, or is it just is it one eye, or what's that like, sir? You know, and they're non-questions, and it's funny because it's a parody, and it's obviously a hyperbole, and it's an exaggeration. But as you watch the political climate that we're in there, whether you go with the debates of 2016 or you watch these press briefings, there is a lot of non-question questions that are asked. Is that common? And do you help prepare your clients for that kind of thing?
Oh, for sure. A lot of times you hear these referred to as gotcha questions.
Yeah.
They're no-win situations, right? But there are 6 types. There's open-enders, probes, these gotchas, clarifying questions. The ones that are the real knuckleballs are called proxies. They sound like this. I've talked to a lot of people about you, and they're really angry. Well, reporters will say that, and it's just absolutely not true. They've not talked to a lot of people. But they use the proxy of the audience to knock you off your balance. Hypotheticals are another good one. when's this going to be done? When will we know? Will we be back here in 5 years from now? Well, none of us know the future. And so the point I make in Breaking Bad News is you can prepare for these kinds of questions, as goofy as they might be,
Yes.
by having a higher level message. So even in a parody or a situation where you know you're just going to get asked.
Can we role play one? Can we role play
questions.
one real quick? Can we role play? Let's pretend, Jeff, that
Yeah.
you are a referee in the NFL, okay? And I am a reporter who has a nefarious agenda, okay? And I'm going to ask you a question that you could not possibly answer well unless you were well trained, okay? And a little sneak peek. I'm going to personally attack you using a proxy move, and then you can one up me, okay? I just want to give the listeners an example here. So here we go. Jeff, referee, I have a question here. A lot of people, I've talked to a lot of people, many people. I went out there and talked to I don't know how many fans, a lot of them, and pretty much everybody has concluded that you are a terrible referee. How would you respond to that, sir?
Well, thank you for that question. Here's what I want everyone to know. The integrity of the game means more to me and my referee staff than any other issue. People may disagree with the calls, but you need to know that we believe in the game as much or more than the fans do.
That was good. I'm gonna do one more. This is the false either or. I'm not sure if you talk about this in the book, but the false either or options where you ask you ask somebody a question and you ask them, do you want option A or B, and then neither one is a lose-lose. So I'm gonna try this one. Here we go. And we'll pretend that you're a president, okay, of the United States in this category, okay. Let's pretend that you happen to be a Democrat president at this time, and I am a Republican reporter who wants to get you, okay, or vice versa. So here we go.
Right.
President Hahn, if you notice the cases of COVID are going up, and I just want to know, do you not care about people, or do you not care about profits?
Here's what I'm focused on right now. We've got to make sure that our healthcare system isn't overwhelmed. At the same time, we need to ensure that our economy keeps operating. Balancing those two things is front and center every day for me and my team.
Oh, it's so good. Yes, folks, that's why you got to get this book, because a lot of you are trying to sell something right now, okay? Listen, some of you are out there trying to sell something, and you have your potential ideal and likely buyer that calls you, and you know, Andrew, that every single time, Andrew, you answer the phone, you say, boop, 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 thank you for calling Michael's Plumbing Services. The consumer, you say, how may I help you? And the potential buyer says what question almost every time?
How much does it cost?
How much does it cost?
How much is it?
They start off with that, and then this book can teach you these moves. It can teach you online reputation management. It can teach you crisis communication tools. I mean, this book is hot. Jeff, what are you charging for this book? Are you charging $18,000 per copy? I mean, how much is this golden book of knowledge bombs?
You know what, Clay? Right now, if people go to my website, breakingbadnewsbook.com, they can buy Breaking Bad News for the cost of the postage.
Really?
I'm putting out the first 1,000 copies as a promotion, and so now's the time to get it. We are down to about 300 or 400 left. So now's the time to go to that website, get and just simply pay for the stamp, and you'll have a book in your mailbox.
Now that's a hot offer. Again, what website do we have to go to pick up that book?
It's called breakingbadnewsbook.com.
I think I just blacked out. That deal was so hot. I just found myself blacking out. Andrew, I mean, I went to like a mental heaven where great books cost the price of a stamp.
A stamp.
Did he just say the book is the price of a stamp?
It's the postage. He did.
Oh, that's good. That's almost too good. What's the website one more time, Jeff? I think some of our listeners might have blacked out. What's that website one more time?
Sure thing. It's called, the website is breakingbadnewsbook.com.
That's a hot deal. Okay, I got a final question for you here. I'm giving you the mic. You, my friend, have the mic. You can say whatever you want to say to our incredible listeners from coast to coast. We're living in wild times, crazy times. We got protests/riots. You've got COVID-19 shutdowns in some states. Some states like Oklahoma were wide open. Some states are very closed. Some people are very upset about protests. Some people are very happy about them. It's a divisive time. It's a weird time. You could address that. You could address your book. You could just give everyone your mailing address. What is something you want to share with the listeners? What's the final little knowledge bomb or the thing you want to share with all of our listeners from coast to coast?
Oh, by the way, this is called a wrap-up question.
Oh, the wrap-up question. Okay, got it.
Yeah, which is typically worded as anything else you'd like to add. And people goof it up all the time. But here's what I would add. It's an uncertain time, lots of ambiguity. My personal mantra is make work your therapy. If there was one thing that has defined my career, it's persistence. I just work, and my work has become the place where all of the things that I can control, I focus on, and I can create something that is positive in the world. I won't say that I'm the most inspired guy. In fact, there's a great quote by an artist named Chuck Close. He said, "Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work." And you know what? That's sort of where I am these days. People look for magic bullets or breakthroughs or, gosh, can't somebody do something? And the answer is, well, you can. You can work. Go to your work and make something positive, given what you can control. That's what I'm trying to stay focused on, and I hope that others can learn from. It's what I talk to my staff about every day. What can we make happen today that we can control?
I am blown away. If people want to learn more about Apron Food and Beverage Communications, where can they learn more about the company itself, Apron Food and Beverage Communications?
Yeah, online. Our website is apronfoodpr.com, and you go there. And by the way, we have a really fun podcast of our own. It's called The Recall of the Month. And a food producer who has a recall, we feature them and make a lot of fun of them. So if you're into food and the food business and the recall process, you'll enjoy our Breaking Bad News podcast, The Recall of the Month.
Brother, I appreciate you so much for being on the show today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.
It's been a great pleasure. Thank you for letting me come and share some thoughts with you. I really enjoyed it.
Andrew, I feel like the intro to today's show, it happened a little fast.
It did.
And then it ended kind of quick, too.
Very
This
quick.
is one of these kind of house music kind of intros.
Yeah.
Let's listen to the lyrics and see if we get into it.
I'm ready.
Here we go. We need a bass drop right here. Andrew, I feel like we need a bass drop everywhere. You know what I mean? Just bass drops.
Everywhere.
Oh. Here we go. What's this song about? Andrew, if I was a logger, I would want to log this music. That's what I want to be doing. Come on now. Ooh. It's like we're at a sushi bar. It's like we're at a sushi bar where everyone's really cool. They're kind of late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
They all got pretty good jobs.
Yep.
Zero net worth.
None.
But they're a hero at that bar.
Oh, yeah.
Buying drinks for everybody.
Great
Here
shoes.
we go. We're going to the
Great
chorus.
shoes.
Oh.
This is the chorus.
Whoa. In my mother's basement, thinking about some crazy. Here we go. This music makes me kind of want to. Oh man, I need some finger painting.
Oh.
That hook is pretty good right there. You know what I mean, Andrew?
I know what you
I want
mean.
to get some sushi. You don't get some sushi?
Get some sushi.
I
Yeah.
want the cool waiter to come by who wears all black.
Yeah, all black.
His name is it's kind of a cool name, we'll call it. It's like Madison.
Madison. His name's Madison.
He's got
Yep.
great hair.
Great hair.
He's got the, what is it bedhead he's got in? The hair
Dreadlocks.
product?
So, yeah.
Bedhead. He's wearing the bedhead product in his hair.
Yeah.
He's got, it's like he could be a Jonas brother, but he's not.
Nope. Not
That's
today.
how I picture this right now. His mother was a pro wrestler. Hey, man. Let's get some cowbell out here. Try to get that. Let me just get that cowbell, that fast cowbell. Andrew, this kind of music makes me want to get the strobe light. And then wash some lead. I'm not even trying.
No. Wash the lettuce. Oh.
But I'm making the face right now like I'm trying hard. Here we go. Thrive Nation. Don't turn it off. You're gonna miss out on the best part. Here we go.
Here it is.
Here we go. Get ready, Thrive Nation. Pump your fist. Pump your fist. To the sushi bar we go. Come on. Let's go there. Overpriced sushi. Come on. Here we go. Hang out with the late 20 people in the early 30s. Find strong men and slap them. They have high incomes. No net worth. They're buying drinks for everybody. Oh, yeah. This song makes me want to shovel snow in the rain. I see no exit ramp for this song. I mean, we have to take it all the way.
Forever.
There's not an exit ramp here.
Can't stop it.
We're on the
I mean,
superhighway.
Yeah.
If people share this show, it could hurt my online reputation, which would cause me to need to go back and refresh myself on the new book here, Breaking Bad News, 10 Essential Crisis Communication Tools.
You could use those tips.
Here we go. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's a breakbeat.
Wow.
Here we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Oh, sitting there walking in my mother's basement, thinking about some. Well. I feel like I added a lot to it.
You
sitting
added.
there walking in her basement, thinking about some. Well, it's the rhyme part. I get the rhyme. You can't just have one half of it rhyme and then end. But we did it for the listeners out there. We sacrifice our reputations for our listeners. But seriously, folks, if you have a regrettable audio of you singing along to a song that you don't know the words to, get a copy of the book right now. Breaking Bad News, 10 Essential Crisis Communication Tools. The author, Jeff Hahn. Pick it up everywhere books are sold. And now, with any further ado, let's end this show with a boom. 3, 2, 1, boom.
Hi there, my name is Stephanie Pipkin. I am 24 years old and I own Black River Falls Cleaning Services. We opened in April of 2019 and it is now mid-June of 2020. So I wanted to talk today about the success and growth I have achieved by implementing the Proven Path with Clay Clark's team and my business coach Luke from Thrive Time. It has been insane to say the least. I started working with them in mid-February of this year, so we're about 4 months in of working together, and it has completely transformed my business in pretty much every facet. So I'm going to check my notes here. So in 4 months, my leads have tripled. I was getting probably like 2 leads a week. Now I'm getting more in the like 10 to 15 leads a week. I have doubled my number of employees. I'm now hitting the highest revenue weeks in the history of the company, week to week it seems like. We went from about 6 appointments today as our highest in February to now 14 to 15 appointments a day. And hiring quality employees has become much simpler and less stressful by using their systems for hiring. I typically only get maybe 2 complaints a month, if that, and everybody shows up to work. I just have really high quality employees now, especially in something people typically consider a high turnover type of work, cleaning houses, cleaning businesses. I have amazing employees now, and I get rid of the ones who are not so amazing and bring on new ones because of, group interviews and interviewing every single week. It's just been great, and I don't waste as much time on low quality candidates anymore. I have successfully gained our second largest commercial client, and this was during COVID. So again, I started working with Luke and Clay in February, and then COVID hit in was mid-March or so. So for the entire month of April, we were shut down residential, April and May, I believe. And so despite that, and again, being a new business and all this stuff, we came out of COVID like stronger than ever, and now hitting our highest numbers in the history of the company, just leads just piling in. And the beauty is when people call us, they're already sold because of our Google reviews, our online presence, the no-brainer offer that we now give to our clients, which is, if they book their second appointment within a month of the first, they get 50% off. And again, they're just ready to book. I hardly have to do any work, it feels like sometimes, to actually book people. So that's amazing. every week I meet with Luke, and it's awesome. Obviously, I'm in Wisconsin, he's in Oklahoma, but we have a great time. I know I can text him at any time, call him at any time with any issues I'm having, especially when COVID did hit. They were so helpful in helping me get the PPP grants and everything settled away there, and really pushed me to make sure I was on the ball and getting all of the grants that I was possibly able to, which was amazing. So they've just been such a wealth of information, and when I'm freaking out because, you know, a burning fire is happening, Luke's there to calm me down and, you know, back me off the cliff edge. And it's just awesome to have him, you know, as a resource there. So every week we meet and we have a big tracking sheet. So we track all my leads, we track my numbers, where the leads are coming from, any complaints. I love my tracking sheet. I know it's probably a little extra, but I love it because I can see everything that's actually happening in my business. And this is so important because it's not like I'm just saying, well, I feel like it's busier. I know if it's busier, and I know, are we making a profit every week? Why or why not? It's just amazing. And then I'm tracking my Google reviews, tracking my competitors' Google reviews, and Luke is always pushing me to get more reviews, even though, you know, I was not very comfortable with that at first. It felt just pushy, but now I'm seeing the effects of having a lot of Google reviews, you know, a lot to me at least. It's not very high compared to others, but people are finding us on Google and they're already ready to book because of our reviews. So, you know, going for those reviews has been so integral in having basically easy sell leads. So tracking has been just so vital, and I really enjoy it actually. So anybody who is skeptical about working with Clay or Luke, you know, the whole team at Thrive Time, I was definitely skeptical, and to me, again, new business, it seemed like a lot of money, but in comparison to other business coaches, especially like specific to the cleaning industry like I'm in, I mean, you're talking like $10,000 a month, and honestly, I feel like I get like that much value out of Luke just by meeting with him once a week. It's amazing, and it has just transformed my business in every single aspect. I mean, I always, you know, aspired to be a successful business owner, and now, I mean, it's not even a question that this business is going to be successful, even if a pandemic happens and you have to shut down. I mean, if I can make it through that and directly because of them, it is absolutely because of them. Obviously, you know, I'm a hard worker, blah, 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 all that. And, you know, I was made to be an entrepreneur. However, having them as like the guiding light of this is what you need to do, and it's very straightforward, doesn't mean it's easy, but it is very straightforward of what needs to be done. And I like that. I like having that step-by-step process, and I love having the accountability, because there's a lot of stuff that they have me do that I don't want to do. It's not fun, but it works. And that, you know, having that discipline to just do the things week after week, regardless if it's dull or boring or you don't want to do it, Luke really pushes me to do those things, which I love. I mean, I hate it at the time, but I love it because I can see how it's affecting my business in a positive way. And, you know, I don't want to be just good. I want to be the best. And I see them as an integral part of that. And I will not be the best if I don't have them with me. So I love having them on my team, and it just feels like the best decision I ever made in my business. And I know I'm still really small and things like that, but there's a reason I reached out to them when I was small, because I want to be big, and I want to not grow and then collapse because I grew too quickly without the correct systems in place. So it's been amazing, and I would suggest anybody who's willing to put in the work and do things that make you uncomfortable, reach out to them. But if you are not willing to change the way you are doing things, if you're not willing to implement a no-brainer, if you're not willing to ask for Google reviews, if you're not willing to write content, really, really boring content for your website so the Google bots find you, then don't reach out. You need to be willing to put in the work as well. And your coach will hold you accountable. I mean, which I love. Again, the tough love is really great. You know, Luke's like a stern father figure, but he's also nice, but also stern when he needs to be, when I'm being lazy and not doing the things that I know I need to do because I don't want to do them. So that's just great. Worth every penny. I mean, I'd pay him $1 million a month if I can, and maybe someday I'll be able to, but I would just say go for it. If it seems like a good fit, just go for it. do what they say, even if you think it's stupid or ridiculous. Just do what they say because it'll work. People, when they look at my business, people in my town, they think I'm lucky. They think I'm just, things just happen for me. And, maybe I am lucky, but it has a lot to do with hard work and, perseverance and, working till you cry sometimes. That's just being an entrepreneur, which if you're a business owner, you understand that. But it's having these systems in place of, of course I'm going to be successful. It's an absolute because I have all this stuff in the background happening, and I have Luke and Clay and everybody on their team working really hard to make sure that I'm a success. And I can tell that they are just so excited every single week when I'm having all these wins and things like that. They're so excited for me. So it's the best thing ever, and I would suggest to anybody to work with them. So sorry for the long-winded reply, but I just had so much to say, and I could go on for hours probably about how amazing they are. But thank you to Clay and Luke and the entire team there, everything you guys have done for me, and I am so excited to continue to work with you for years to come. Thanks so much for watching.
Over the years, has it been a struggle to grow your business? Are you just kind of struggling to put everything you're learning together into a cohesive plan that you can actually implement?
That sounds like me.
What if you had access to a step-by-step proven plan taught by a business coach with a proven track record of helping thousands of entrepreneurs just like you to increase their profitability on a month-to-month basis? And what if my business coaching program had actually been coaching clients since before the Great Recession? What if you are working with a coach who knows how to coach you through difficult times? And imagine if this program was actually affordable. I'm talking about super affordable, like in a perfect world affordable, like less money than it would cost you to hire even one minimum wage full-time employee.
Yeah. Let me talk to the manager.
At a time where Inc. magazine now reports that by default, 96% of businesses will fail within 10 years, my clients grew last year at a rate of 104%. Yeah, 104%.
But can you prove it?
Check out thrivetimeshow.com and click on testimonials to see the faces of my real clients and to hear their real stories about how they've really grown their businesses. These are real people just like you, real moms, real dads, real daughters, real men and women that have actually grown their companies, on average by 104% this past year.
How's that possible?
Well, I personally take the time to write each and every business plan, which is why I only take on 160 clients. I then use my team to help you execute your plan for your business. And my team is great, including graphic designers, photographers, and videographers, web developers, search engine optimizers, and accounting coaches to help you get on top of your numbers. And they do all of this for less money than it would cost you to hire even one full-time minimum wage employee. Does it sound too good to be true? Just visit thrivetimeshow.com and click on the testimonials button and you'll see their stories. You'll see real people now having huge success. Schedule your one-on-one consultation with me right now by going to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com. Schedule your 13-point assessment with me. I'm going to spend about a half hour to an hour with you to figure out where you're stuck.
Well, right now I'm having a mental block. Every time I try to go on them internets and go to thrivetimeshow.com, I find myself sending myself an MP3 via my new fax machine app on my new phone.
Well, in that case, we probably can't help you, but for everybody else, we should be fine. Just go to thrivetimeshow.com and schedule a one-on-one consultation with me. I'm going to figure out your biggest limiting factors. I'm going to go through a 13-point assessment with you to find out where you're stuck, where your growth opportunities are, and I'm going to take the time needed to type out a step-by-step plan that we're going to help lead you down together. This is going to be your year to thrive, but you have to schedule that 13-point assessment right now by going to thrivetimeshow.com. Now, recently, my good friend John Lee Dumas from the Entrepreneurs on Fire podcast, which is one of the top 5 business podcasts of all time, he reached out to me and said, Clay, I'd like to have you on my show, and I'd like to ask you about why you coach your clients. And so now, without any further ado, here's the audio clip of John Lee Dumas interviewing me about why I continue to coach clients after all these years.
You've long ago achieved financial freedom, achieved time freedom, and that's amazing things. And a lot of people who are listening might be like, why is this guy not on a beach in Puerto Rico, just like sipping Mai Tais and like just relaxing? What motivates you to coach your clients? What is the real reason?
Well, I got several reasons, but I believe and I know it is entirely possible to go to college, to earn a degree, and to learn very little about how to earn money. In fact, as a general rule, most of the general education out there is kind of like it's like memorizing the History Channel. It's like you learned a lot about the Byzantine Empire, and it might be fascinating, but it's not wealth creating. And I grew up in a home where my dad delivered pizzas at Domino's. He worked the night shift at Quick Trip convenience stores to pay the bills. And I sincerely mean this. I thought that my father didn't like me until I was able to hire him when I was 27 years old. And I was talking with my dad, and I'm like, Dad, why were you always working? He's like, to put food on the table. Now, my dad has a college degree from Oral Roberts University. And imagine what that felt like as a kid. And a lot of your listeners can relate to this. My dad just worked his ass off constantly because he wanted to provide. But my dad wasn't one of those dads who comes home and goes, that's right, I've been working for you. He was a quiet guy. He just worked. And from the age of 27, when I hired my dad, he's like, what do you want? What am I going to do for you, son? I said, you can just come be a dad. I'll put you on payroll. You can help me with the books. I need someone I can trust. He moved from Minnesota to Tulsa to come work with me. And when he died of Lou Gehrig's on September 5th, 3 years ago, I can honestly say I had no regrets. I got all that time with my dad. And there's so many people out there that are exchanging all of their time for very little money. And that just makes zero sense. And if you're gonna go out there today and hire a minimum wage employee, let's say you're in the great state of Michigan or something, okay? You hire an employee for $12 an hour, $11 an hour. Let's say you're in Oklahoma, you hire someone for $7.25 an hour. If you hire somebody for $12 an hour after payroll taxes and they work for you 40 hours a week for 4.3 weeks a month, that means that you're going to pay that person $2,064 a month before factoring in payroll taxes and providing them an office and all the costs of hiring them and finding them and recruiting them. And you know what I mean? There's a lot of costs, hidden costs associated with hiring somebody. And for less money than it would cost you to hire even one full-time minimum wage employee, we can change your life and we will change your life. And I am serious about it. My dad recently died, and that's not fun, but man, how terrible would my life have been if I didn't have certain key mentors in my life? And I'll tell you this, none of my mentors reached out to me. I had to go pay these people. I paid Michael Levine, the PR consultant for Michael Jackson and Prince and Nike, best-selling author Michael Levine. He worked with Charlton Heston. I paid Home Skillet $25,000 to teach me how PR works. $25,000. And it was worth every dollar of it because now I can get my clients like Josh with Living Water Irrigation on the Kelly Clarkson Show and the Today Show, and I can get clients like OxyFresh on Fox News. I know how to do it now. But $25,000. I paid Bruce Clay, I think it was $8,000 a month for 12 consecutive months to learn how search engines work. I mean, and I'm glad I did, but JLD, that's some money right there. And I paid as I went.
That's some dough.
I paid some money. And if I was right now and I wanted to be a podcaster, I'd pay you to learn how to podcast because it turns out you know how to podcast. And then if I didn't have the motivation to keep podcasting every day, I'd pay you whatever that fee is. I'd call and go, JLD, how'd you stay motivated when you had 2 downloads a week? Because remember that when you started, the momentum was against you. Before you met Kate, you're getting that momentum going. It's you against the world. You're recording. You got 2 downloads a week, maybe 5 a week. And then all of a sudden people go, oh, man, must be nice. And you go, yeah, I enjoyed the process, but people don't see the messy middle. The messy middle is the gap between the result that you want to get to and the dream that you just had last night. And somebody has to bridge the gap. And most people who are successful like to travel, not me. So most people who are successful like to go on vacations, not me. They like to go to NFL games, not me. They like to go to parties, not me. They have hobbies and other interests, not me. It's just my wife, my 5 kids, and growing companies. That's all I got. If you're looking for a guy who's the most interesting man in the world, that's not me. But I live behind a wall at Camp Clark and Chicken Palace where I myopically focus on my clients, and I feel it's a calling from the Latin word meaning the word vocation meaning calling. I feel like I'm called to do this. And this is what I was called to do. I'm almost 40 years old. I don't know how many more years I have left on this great planet, but this is what I'm going to do. I'll be a 70-year-old doing this, and my hero in the game of business is Paul Graham. Paul Graham's my hero. If you Google search Paul Graham, he's the coach behind Airbnb, Dropbox, and Reddit. And he was the one who kind of paved the way for what I want to do. And Paul Graham's my inspiration.
Fire Nation, if you are literally not pressing pause right now and visiting thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire, check your pulse. I mean, with what Clay just shared, with the immense amount of free value that he's delivering to you on that site, it's just unbelievable. The assessment, the website check, the books, all the jazz, his passion transferred to you and your business, injecting it, especially during these crazy times, Fire Nation. This is what you need. So you know this, Fire Nation. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and you've been hanging out with CC and JLD today. So keep up that heat and head over to thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire. The next stage in your life, Fire Nation, the next stage in your business starts at the end of that URL. Hit it, make it happen. Clay, Josh, thank you both for sharing your truth, your value with Fire Nation today. For that, we salute you, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Take care.